agenda, public comment period. I think we had anybody sign up. Okay. Then we'll go to item 6, update report by the Director of Electric Utilities regarding customer service, business center practices, procedures, and policies, billing procedures, and the LP&L staffing and performance. Mr. McCollum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As is customary, I'll go through a few highlights in the report and then be available to answer questions as well. So on page 33, towards the bottom there, Matt wanted me to point out that in July, Powerful Pointers saw the largest traffic increase in the year with a 617% increase. That's a pretty dramatic increase there. And of course, Powerful Pointers is our energy efficiency website that's got a lot of things that customers can do to reduce their energy usage and save money. So the biggest reason for that was the paid media effort. You may have seen some of the advertisements that we're running on TV and on the radio that directed people to look at that Powerful Pointers program. So hopefully some of our customers get some good out of it and save some money. On page 36, call your attention to that graph in the upper left-hand, second one from the top there, the call center activity. We had a pretty good spike in call center activity in July, and the notes at the bottom of the page point out the reasons. In addition to the hot temperatures, which normally result in more calls, and an increase, resulting in an increase in the call center, but we also had university students moving in. 8,000 new service orders to do move-ins and move-outs. So that's a pretty good volumes of transfers and move-out requests. And then we also had some vacant call center representative positions, which have since been filled. So hopefully the next report will show that spike coming down. I wanted to point out also the distribution recap where we have the new commercial projects on page 37 and 38. Everything from Chick-fil-A down is new. So you got 6 on that page 37 that are new, including Lubbock Christian Academy, 14,950 square feet. Pier 1 Imports at the very bottom of the page, and then on the next page you got 50,000 foot Rock Solid Athletics, and a new Walmart store, which I understand is going to be one of their concept stores, just a grocery store, I believe it is. And several other pretty interesting facilities there. A new motel, United Distribution Center. Now that could be a fairly large facility. I haven't seen the information on that yet.
They're adding on. How do y'all audit? There's a lot of stuff on here that's not happening too. So you might look and see how you, from Chick-fil-A up, I think there's some dead projects.
Okay. Those are added to the list when folks bring projects to the plat review committee. So when they bring a project and goes through the plat review process, we add it to the list. That's probably a good point. There's probably someone here that people went through that process and the project got pulled for whatever reason. So.
I know, one thing that might be interesting if you could add like the date that it was presented, and then we can start seeing when they're aging.
Okay, good suggestion. And then the last thing I was going to mention was the August daily load. We hit on Monday, August the 10th, we hit 586.4 megawatts, which I think is going to be our high for the year. Beat July's 581.4 megawatts by just a little bit. So, and I don't think we're going to exceed it in September. But it's really interesting to see how the load varies with temperature. And of course, we had that cool spell in August, which is very unusual to have that kind of cool weather come in August. Which utility people, we just hate that. We just hate those cool snaps.
They're supposed to be on that peak load. Were there any areas in the system that were stressed out? I know the overall load is we handle it, but I mean, it's probably weak in some places.
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure the engineers would maybe point to several things that they're keeping an eye on, but Mr. call me anything that you're aware of that was really stressed out?
Yeah, I guess I'm asking, were we in trouble anywhere?
No, we haven't been this year, no, sir.
That's really all I know.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. McCullough on the report? Thank you, Mr. McCullough, appreciate it. That will take us then to item 7, discuss financial and capital statements, financing options, audits, and financial policies of both Fire and Life related to debt issuance issues, reserve account funding, cost allocation, and revenue expense projections of both Fire and Life. And that would be the financials.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Burcham.
Just quickly go through some highlights for the month of July. Again, as typical, we show you where the rates for LP&L have been. If you're a 1,000 kilowatt hour customer, for the summer, you'd be paying about $110.41. If you compare that to the customers in Amarillo with Excel, they're still at $109.70, about 71 cents less than LP&L for the last couple of months. Again, there's still a rate case pending for Excel, so we anticipate theirs going up in the near future. But still, over the last 12 months, if you're an LP&L customer, saved about $117 over if they had been a customer using the same amount of energy in Amarillo. So that's still positive news. We've been below Excel's rates for 32 out of the last 36 months. The income statement for July, you can see what we do is we compare this July to the previous July, year to date. We're about $5.4 million below where we were this time last year. Currently, the biggest impact there is the unit contingent revenues that are not coming in as they did last year. We're about $7.2 million less in unit contingent revenues than we were at this point last year. And so offsetting that is the pass-through of the wholesale power cost and the slight base rate increase that occurred this year. Down in the expense section, you'll notice that really all of the controllable expenses are down. If you take the personal services, which include our personnel and our benefits, down about $180,000 from this time last year. And that third line item, the supplies, maintenance, and other, is down about $1.2 million from this time last year. You can also see fuel and power purchases are down about $500,000, so just almost identical to this time last year. And then depreciation is down somewhat from this time last year as well. The only line item that is significantly different, again, I've mentioned this every month, I think, since the beginning of the fiscal year, is related to new GASB rules that require that we expense the net pension obligation, and that's a $19 million difference. It's not a cash outlay, but it is an accounting entry that hits our income statement to the tune of about $19 million at this point. You can see really the transfers are up a little bit from prior year, as well as operating expenses. Non-operating expenses are up slightly from last year. If you take that bottom line, there's a pretty big discrepancy from last year, and if you add back that $19 million that it did not occur in last year's books, we're actually a little bit in the positive territory, a net income of just slightly under $200,000 at this point in time, compared to about $4.3 million last year. And again, remember, we're down about $7.2 million in unit contingent, so we've made up some ground from what we've lost in those unit contingent agreements. The next slide is a budget comparison to our an actual compared to what we're forecasting at this point in time. And so at this point in time of the year, this is actuals year to date through July. The customers metered are about 77% of what we're projecting they'll be at the end of the year, and that's right on target. We are at 77.8 has been the average for the last several years, so we're right in line there. Again, the off-system sales are down to forecast, but we anticipate we have a pretty good month in August, and we expect a decent month in September that will bring us up to that level, because most of those revenues are going to come in these 2 months, August and September. All other revenues are, I think, ahead of schedule. We're about 83% of the way through the year, and we're about 87% of revenues on all the other categories. And on the expense side, You can see our cost centers are well below budget. We're at 73%, where you normally see about 80%. Fund level expenses are right on track where we'd expect. The only thing really left there is our transfers for the last couple of months. And then purchase power, still on track there. Same slide, I've kind of hidden the other two columns, but this one is comparing our forecast to what we'd originally budgeted. And you can see the biggest difference is in the pass-through. It's going to really be the pass-through of our power to our customers. And you can see at the bottom line under the purchase power, both of those categories kind of go in sync, but they're both down substantially, mainly related to natural gas prices and cost of wholesale power. Again, one of the biggest differences between our forecast and what we'd originally budgeted is those off-system sales. Obviously, that is down significantly from what we'd originally projected, so that's a big driver in this year.
Mr. Burch?
Yes.
Going back to the gap-based numbers, that pension, the GASB 68 adjustment, so that is a one-time deal. Next year, that our income statement won't be impacted by that huge number.
That's correct. And once we get that fully expensed, where you'll see it long term is it is brought down our net equity. Yeah. And so that'll be down going forward, but we won't see this level of expense going forward. It will be adjusted based on the actuarial value of those assets every year. So if there's an upswing in the value or a downswing, you'll see an entry to adjust for that. Typically, that'll be a year-end entry. You won't see it throughout the year. So we'll just have to keep our eye on that. So there may be a little bit of volatility to that number over time, but you won't see certainly to the degree that you're seeing this year.
So just, I think everybody knows that it's a one-time,
Yes, sir.
one fiscal year.
And all municipalities, I mean, GASB's required this across the board, and so, everyone is feeling this pain this year. At least when you look at your income statement, it looks kind of funny. One thing that I did provide to each of you in your agenda, there's a replacement page. Page 44 in your book was incorrect, and so we replaced that with the correct version. And you'll see the corrected version is quite a bit nicer looking than the other one, just because really the only difference between the two is on the general consumer's metered revenue line item. We originally had about $211 million on there. We're projecting that to be about $217 million. It looks like at this point in time, if you look down at the bottom of that inserted forecast page, that we'll actually, at this point, anticipate a very slight budget surplus of about $450,000 compared to what we budgeted, about $780,000. So that's, I don't know, if this stands true, I don't know if you could get a whole lot closer than that. We do anticipate ending the year slightly under collected, about $800,000. And I guess let me skip over to that slide. We've been substantially under collected throughout the year, at one point being over $4 million under, well, really about $7.5 million under where we would like to normally remain. But the last month, the kilowatt hours kicked in, we had the heat back again, and we over-collected quite a bit more than what we have been. Where we were at about $3.5 million under-collected last month, now we're about $1.1 million under-collected. So we still have a little bit of a ways to go to get back in sync with where our purchase power costs and our revenues are in sync again. So we're still a little bit off there, but we're anticipating we'll overcut slightly again in September. And again, like I said, I think at this point we expect the end of the fiscal year slightly under-collected, but only about $800,000, which is much better than where we've been over the last number of months. And the last slide I have for you is just an update on the capital. Very little activity occurred throughout the month. You can still see that about $24 million in bonds and $17.9 million in cash sitting ready to be spent on our 47 capital projects that are open at this point in time. Only about $300,000 was spent during the month of July. All of that pretty much on distribution activities during that month. So that's kind of a quick overview, and if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
questions? Thank you, appreciate it. Mr. Griffin?
When do we go off summer limits?
The,
October?
yeah, October 1st is when that'll change. And so our base rate will go down as that was approved in the tariff. Now, we're still working on what the pass-through rate will be. We're fine-tuning what that will need to be going forward. So I don't have that to report to you yet, but that'll be coming up in the next several weeks.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. I believe that will take us into the consent agenda, which would be item A, consider a resolution authorizing the Director of Electric Utilities to execute contract ID number 7135-15-ELP to Southern Islands Incorporated for LP&L aqueous ammonia annual pricing. Yes.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as it's presented here unless, I'll withdraw that if someone wants to pull it.
I don't want to pull it. I just need Felix to explain to me how Airgas, a bajillion-dollar company, couldn't come up with their insurance requirements. They had the lowest bid.
They did have the lowest bid, yes, sir.
And you rejected them based upon the insurance requirement. And that shocked me when I read it, because Airgas, as you know, is 70-80% of the market in America, probably the world.
Yes,
So,
sir. What happened is, this was a sealed bid, we did not do any proposals, so we put in there our terms and conditions, and also we get with the city's risk management for our insurance requirements for the policies. They marked through our terms and conditions and our insurance policies.
and that's their problem.
Yes, sir. So, in a sealed bid, we cannot, there's no negotiation.
They're too big to deal with us. is what they're-
Felix, is that in your experience, is that the issue? They just, it wasn't a big enough deal for them to?
And they just changed it, they wanted it to be to their advantage and stuff like that.
Right. Thank you, Felix.
Yes, sir.
I'll second your motion.
I was just gonna mention that, so this is fine, but typically what we need to do is if we want to discuss an item, support from the consent agenda, and then we can discuss it after a motion. This, for future meetings.
All right, motion's made, seconded. Those are non-discussable in the consent agenda.
I'm not going to ask any more questions.
All those in
I was
favor,
stopping there, man. I'm trying to
please
help
say
us.
aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Stop here.
All right, we get there eventually. I believe that covers everything on the agenda, so we will be adjourned.